When my parents lied to took my $3,500 for my brother's ski trip, I stayed silent. But the move I made after didn't just end their control. It exposed everything they never thought I'd fight back against. I, 31, male, have a brother, Nick, 28, male. He's younger than me by 3 years. Our parents think succession, but without the money, morals, or brain cells. Nick's been the golden child since the day he figured out how to lie with a straight face, and our parents ate it up like it was gospel. I swear the guy could burn the house down and they'd buy him a new one. For example, at 19 he wrecked my dad's Camry driving without insurance. You'd think they'd ground him or make him pay. Nah, that summer they bought him a black Suzuki Alto, used but still a damn Suzuki Alto. Meanwhile, I was 22, working full-time, helping with bills, and they handed me a sheet of paper with rent numbers on it. Said I had to contribute now that I'm a man. Not even exaggerating. I got charged $450 a month to live in the same house as the idiot who totaled their car and got rewarded for it. That was just the start. Nick never worked a day in high school. Got caught shoplifting once. Parents blamed the store. In college, he dropped out 2 times. Still got a congratulations cake both times for trying something new. When I graduated, they forgot to show up to the ceremony. Said traffic was bad. My mom once told me, "You've always been the strong one. That's why we don't worry about you." Translation, we'll dump everything on you and pretend it's praise. I got my first job in HVAC when I was 20. Got certified, saved up, and paid off my used Corolla in cash. 2 years later, I was the one helping with groceries, electricity, even sent cash once when Dad called saying the boiler broke. I wasn't rich, but I was steady. They knew that and they used it. Nick has never helped pay for anything. He doesn't even know how bills work. He's the kind of guy who calls you to ask how to reset his iCloud password every time. And don't get me started on the privacy stuff. Back when I still lived at home, Nick used to go into my room when I wasn't around. I'd come back from work and find my drawers open, my laptop moved, sometimes my charger missing. Once I caught him wearing one of my watches, said he borrowed it for a date, didn't ask, just took it, thought nothing of it. I put a small lock on my door, my dad made me take it off. Said this is a family, not a prison. Yeah. Then why did it feel like I needed a security system just to keep my stuff safe from my own brother? Anyway, fast forward a bit. I moved out at 25. Finally got tired of walking on eggshells and paying rent just to be the living handyman. I got a small place 30 minutes away. Nothing special, but it was mine. And guess what? First year away, I still helped. Sent money when Dad said he needed to cover the property tax. Paid for a new fridge when the old one broke. Even gave Nick a loan once because he said his car got towed. He spent it on speakers. I found out through his Instagram. The whole time I kept telling myself, they're family. They'll come around. Dumb. The turning point is next. But just so we're clear, this wasn't some one-time drama. This was years of them treating me like the backup option while Nick got treated like he invented electricity every time he cleaned his room. What happened next wasn't just the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the moment I realized the camel had been dead for years and I was still out here dragging it uphill. So, here's where things went from annoying to straight-up disgusting. I had moved out 2 years earlier, was living on my own, working full-time, still doing HVAC and side repair gigs for extra cash. Things were going decent, nothing crazy, but I had savings, I was stable. Life was finally on neutral ground. Then, around Christmas that year, Dad called me one night and said the roof was leaking, said they were short after paying for repairs on Nick's car, asked if I could help front the cost, said he'd pay me back in January when things calmed down. Whatever. I didn't want them freezing in the house all winter, so I wired them $3,500. A week later, I'm scrolling Facebook and I see photos from Nick's feed. He's tagged at a ski resort. Full setup, gear, lodge. He's in matching snow gear with his new girlfriend, someone who literally calls herself an energy healer in her bio. Caption: deserve this break. Big thanks to the real ones who made it happen. I stared at the screen for a second. Not out of shock, just mentally adding things up. That $3,500 I sent for roof repairs didn't go to the house. It went to Nick's vacation, a vacation I paid for. Next day I call my dad, ask him directly what the money was used for. He says, "Oh, the roof situation wasn't as bad as we thought, so we just handled something else." I said, "You gave it to Nick." He says, "Well, technically, it went to help him reset. He's had a hard year. The guy works 3 hours a week, spends the rest gaming or taking mirror selfies. Meanwhile, I'm out here working 10-hour shifts and I'm the one sending him to Aspen." I said, "You lied to me." He goes, "Don't be dramatic, it's all family." That was the last time I sent money. 3 days later, my mom calls me. "We're a little short this month. Just a few groceries and utilities. I know you're doing okay, I said. Ask Nick. She hangs up on me. Then the texts start, guilt-tripping stuff. After all we've done for you, you wouldn't even have a job without how we raised you. Your brother is going through more than you realize. 2 weeks go by, I don't respond. Then my aunt texts me, hey, your parents said you abandoned them after everything. Not cool. I said they stole money from me and gave it to Nick. She says even if they did, they're your parents. At that point, I realized the whole extended family had been roped in. They were running a campaign, painting me as the selfish son who got successful and forgot where he came from. The funny part, I wasn't even successful. I was just not broke. Meanwhile, Nick's still living there rent-free, still doesn't have a steady job, still borrowing my dad's truck and calling it his whip. Then it got worse. I found out from my cousin Jack, only person in that circus I still trust, that Nick had been going around telling people I owed him money. Said I never paid him back for that one time he covered my phone bill in 2017. That bill, $78. I covered it on vacation because he lost his wallet and I repaid him a week later. So now he's lying and the parents are letting it happen. At that point I blocked them all. Parents, Nick, everyone except Jack. I didn't even give a warning. A month later I get a typed letter in the mail. Yeah, typed, like it was drafted by a law firm, but with word art font and clip art in the corner. It said, "We're requesting that you reconsider your recent behavior. Family is about give and take." It also said, "Nick's working on a new project and could really use your support." A project? The guy's idea of a project is figuring out how to scam more people for AirPods. I didn't even respond. You'd think that would be it, but nah. 2 weeks later, they show up at my apartment. Just walked up to the door like I was going to invite them in. I opened the door a crack, didn't even step out. My dad says, "Look, we didn't mean to upset you. We were just trying to help Nick get back on his feet." I said, "He's never been on his feet. He's allergic to effort." Then my mom, of course, starts crying. "You're tearing this family apart." I said, "Nah, I just stopped financing it." Then I closed the door. They haven't been inside since. After that, Jack tells me they've been telling everyone I cut ties because of money. They left out the part where the money was mine and they stole it. That was the betrayal. That was the line. I didn't care about being disrespected anymore. I cared about being used. They saw me as a wallet, not a son, not a brother. And after that day I was done. A few months go by with zero contact. Things were quiet. I didn't unblock anyone. I didn't answer unknown numbers. I just worked, hit the gym, kept it simple. Then Jack calls. Says our grandfather passed away. No long speech, no fake sad voice, just the facts. Heart failure, peaceful early morning. I respected my grandfather. He was one of the only people in the family who didn't treat me like a walking ATM. Quiet guy, old school, ran a lawn care business until he was 70. The man worked. He wasn't flashy, didn't take sides, but he'd pull me aside once in a while and say, "Don't let lazy men eat off your plate." I told Jack I'd be at the funeral. He warned me the rest of the family was planning to be emotional, which was code for they're going to use this as a trap. Funeral day comes. I show up in a black shirt and slacks, nothing fancy. I stand in the back, didn't walk up front, just stood quietly, paid my respect. Then I saw them, my parents. My mom clung to Nick like he was her emotional support animal. Dad was shaking hands like a politician. Nick dressed in some overpriced designer jacket, sunglasses on, nodding at people like he was at a launch party. I stayed away. I wasn't here to talk. Then as the service wrapped up, my mom made her move. Walked straight up, arms open like we hadn't been radio silent for months. "I knew you'd come," she said. I nodded, didn't hug her, just nodded. Then she says loud enough for people nearby to hear, "Maybe now we can finally be a family again." I stepped back and said, "This isn't the time." Her smile dropped so fast you'd think someone flipped a switch. Then Dad walked up. "Your brother's been going through a rough patch, a lot of pressure since you left." I didn't say anything. Nick joins in. "You seriously still mad about that money? You act like I robbed you?" I looked straight at him. He smirked like it was a joke. Then my dad says, "Your grandfather wanted us to stick together. Don't make this about pride." I said, "You want to talk about Grandpa? He worked his whole life, never asked anyone for a handout." My mom gasped like I cursed in church. Then Nick pipes up, "You think you're better than everyone now because you got a little apartment and a 9 to 5? Right then I realized this wasn't about the funeral. They were circling me, trying to squeeze sympathy and shame out of the moment. So I said loud enough for people nearby to hear, "I came to say goodbye to a man who earned my respect. That's it." And I walked away. Later that week, I found out they told the whole family I made a scene at the funeral, that I attacked them while they were grieving. One aunt even sent me a 2-page text saying I broke my mother's heart. Jack confirmed they were trying to spin it into some redemption arc, like I'd come back to the fold and finally understand the importance of unity, all because I stood at a funeral and didn't scream. Then came the inheritance drama. Turns out Grandpa left behind a small property, a plot of land he used to store his old tools and machines. Not much value, maybe $15,000 at most. But Nick wanted it. He wanted to turn it into a creative space for local musicians. Translation, a hangout spot for him and his freeloading friends. The will named me as the executor. Grandpa had put my name down a few years ago after I helped him fix the roof on that same shed. I didn't even know until the lawyer called me. Nick found out through my mom. Next day I got a message from a random number. "Hey bro, can we talk about the land?" I got a vision for it. I blocked it. Then my dad emailed me, said the land should rightfully go to the younger son who needs a stepping stone. Said I was already doing well and didn't need to hoard everything. They called Jack too, asked him to reason with me. I told him straight, they're not getting it. Then they went nuclear. My mom showed up at my job. She walked into the office, didn't even check in, just marched in and asked the receptionist to call me out. I stepped outside and asked what she was doing. She said, "If you won't talk to your family, then I'll bring the family to you." She told me I was heartless, said I was spitting on Grandpa's memory, said Nick needed help, that I was destroying everything. I told her to leave or I'd call security. She said, "Do it. Then everyone will see how cold you've become." So I took out my phone and did it. Security walked her out. The look on her face wasn't sadness, it was disbelief, like she couldn't process that her son wouldn't bend anymore. A few days later, Jack sent me screenshots from the family group chat. Stuff like, "He's been poisoned by selfishness. We should have never trusted him with anything. Nick has dreams and his brother keeps crushing them." It was laughable. They weren't grieving Grandpa. They weren't trying to reconnect. They were just mad the free ride was over and I wasn't giving the keys back. 2 months after the funeral stunt, things went quiet again. I figured they finally gave up. No texts, no pop-ups, no flying monkeys from the extended family. Even Jack said, "It's probably over." Then one Thursday I came home from work, and something felt off. I walked in and my front door didn't click like it usually does. I lock it every day before I leave, double deadbolt. No chance I forgot. I pushed it open. Living room was fine, kitchen was fine. But then I got to my bedroom and stopped cold. My top drawer was open and my watch case wide open. 2 gone, the same 2 I caught Nick wearing when we were still living at home. Check the rest. My laptop missing, headphones gone. A hoodie disappeared. USB drive from work also gone. The place wasn't trashed. It wasn't a smash and grab. It was personal. Someone knew what they wanted. I didn't panic. I locked the door again and checked the hallway camera. My building has a cheap indoor camera pointed at the stairwell. I rewound the footage from earlier that day. There he was, Nick, hoodie on, backpack. Walked up, looked around, then picked the lock like he'd done it before. In and out in under 6 minutes. I called the cops, gave them the footage, gave them the list of stolen items, told them it was my brother. They said they'd start a report and follow up once they confirmed his address. Then I called Jack. He picked up and I said, "So you knew?" He goes, "He bragged about it." Apparently Nick had been telling his buddies he visited his big bro's place and borrowed some stuff. One guy even posted a story holding my headphones. Captioned, "Thanks, Miles." I wasn't angry. I was done. I already warned them once. This time I was pressing charges. Next day I went to the station and signed everything. They pulled the security footage, matched the timestamps, and issued a warrant. The thing about Nick, he's cocky but stupid. He went back to the same apartment complex 2 days later to visit someone else. Cops picked him up in the parking lot. He denied it, of course, said I gave him a spare key and told him he could grab some stuff for old time's sake. Cops showed him the footage. He shut up after that. He was booked. They gave him 2 charges, trespassing and petty theft under $5,000. First offense, so he didn't get jail time, but they hit him with probation and mandatory restitution. His court hearing was empty. My parents didn't even show up. They thought I'd drop it before it got real. After the court date, my dad called me from a new number. I picked up without thinking. He went straight in, "So now you're putting your own brother behind bars?" I said he broke into my home. He said, "You think strangers won't treat you worse? This is how you treat family?" I said, "Family doesn't steal from me and lie about it." He said, "You're going to regret making enemies out of your blood." I hung up, blocked the number. Then came the letters. Actual handwritten garbage from my mom. Said I should have called a family meeting, that Nick was in a bad place, that pressing charges was permanent damage to the family bond. No mention of what Nick did, no apology, just whining. Then Jack told me something that made everything worse. Apparently Nick sold my laptop to some guy on Facebook Marketplace. The guy opened it, found a bunch of work files, contacted my company through the watermark on one of the PDFs. That guy saved me. Honestly, he could have trashed me. Instead, he reached out to my boss and told him what happened. My boss called me in. I thought I was getting fired. Instead, he said, "Get better locks and next time call me sooner." Work stood by me. The police stood by me. My landlord replaced the lock and gave me a copy of Nick's footage for court. But my parents still kept asking when I was going to be the bigger man. The bigger man. I had a bleeding hand once from cleaning up Nick's mess. That was years ago when he crashed a bike and dumped it in my trunk without telling me. I took the hit on insurance. Still kept my mouth shut. I was done being the bigger man. After the theft, Jack cut ties with Nick, too. Said, "If he can do that to you, he'll do worse to anyone." Jack helped me replace the laptop and the watches. We didn't talk about family after that, we just talked about work, movies, regular stuff. For once it felt like peace. Nick never apologized. Not once. A few weeks after court, I saw a post from one of his friends. Nick was throwing a fresh start party. Caption, still standing. "Family can't break you if you're already built different." I saved the post, didn't respond, but I had an idea. After everything that happened, I stayed quiet. Nick kept posting like nothing happened, acting like he survived something. He told people I tried to ruin his life like he was the victim, kept saying stuff like blood is thicker than water but not thicker than greed. Meanwhile, I was working, saving, waiting. You know what happens when a guy like me keeps quiet too long? They assume it's over. It wasn't. I started with the plot of land my grandfather left me, the same one Nick tried to beg for after the funeral. It was sitting there empty, just some shed and overgrown grass. I hadn't touched it in a year because I didn't feel like dealing with family nonsense. Then one day I drove out there and saw something that made everything click. Nick had been squatting on it. His car was parked behind the shed, extension cord running from a neighbor's outlet, mattresses inside. It looked like some sad TikTok hustle cave. He was living there, probably after his girlfriend kicked him out or he ran out of couch surfing spots. Nobody told me, he didn't ask, he just moved in like it was his. So I got to work. Didn't yell, didn't post, just called a contractor buddy of mine. Told him I wanted a fence up by the end of the week. Full perimeter, locked gate, no access unless I said so. He asked if I had a permit. I said already filed it and got everything done legit, title, survey, inspection. Took 2 days and a few $100. While the fence was going up, I dropped by the property. Nick was outside sitting on a broken chair eating cereal from the box. Looked up and said, "What's all this?" I said, "Improvements." He said, "You can't just take this from me." I said, "You broke into my house. You don't get to live on my land." Then I handed him a printed copy of the property deed with my name on it and the official notice to vacate. He ripped it in half and threw it. I didn't flinch. He yelled, "You're doing all this just to humiliate me." I said, "No. I'm doing this to erase you." That night he left. Next morning the contractor finished the fence. Heavy steel gate, digital lock, keypad entry. Nobody's getting in unless I say so. Then I called a storage unit company and scheduled a delivery. Cleared out the shed, hauled everything Nick left behind, clothes, gaming chair, speaker, mattress, sent it all to a $45 a month unit under his name. I prepaid 3 months. After that, it's his problem. Jack came with me the day we cleared it out. He looked around and said, "He really thought this was his kingdom, huh?" I didn't say anything. While Nick was busy pouting online and playing victim, I turned that old plot into something real. Cleaned it up, got power installed, built out a covered workspace, turned it into a mobile HVAC station. Just me, tools, a truck, and no freeloaders. I put my company name on a steel sign at the front, Simmons Service and Repair, established 2024. That crushed them. Next week I get a text from my mom. She's trying to act nice again. "We saw the sign. We're proud of you." I don't reply. Next day my dad sends an email. "Maybe now's a good time to start healing." Still no reply. 2 days later, Nick posts a long story on Instagram about how some people use money to silence others and tags the location as the Snake Pit. I screenshot it, blocked the account. Finally showed up again in person, this time at the lot. Pulled up while I was working. My dad stepped out of the car and said, "You've made your point, but this land has always been family." I kept welding, didn't answer. Then my mom stepped up and said, "You're better than this." Jack was there too. He leaned on the truck and said, "He already was better than this. That's why you all tried to use him." Nick didn't say anything, just stood there behind them, arms crossed, fake tough. My dad tried again. We're not asking for anything big, just a small piece of space so Nick can get back on his feet. I finally spoke. There's a bench outside the Dollar Tree, it's free. They stood there for a second, not sure what to say. I walked to the gate, opened it, pointed to the road. You've got 10 seconds. They left, haven't heard from them since. Later that month I found out from Jack that Nick tried to start a GoFundMe. Claimed he was unjustly evicted from inherited land. It got $28 before it got taken down for misinformation. After that, nothing. Silence. I show up every day to that property now. I work, I fix, I build. No more drama. No more fake apologies. Just peace. That was the correction, not revenge. Just a reset. They took enough from me, so I took back the last thing they thought they owned. And I did it legally, cleanly, publicly. No yelling, no arguing, just action. It was quiet for almost a full year. No texts, no pop-ups, no phone calls from random relatives, just silence. Honestly, it was peaceful. I kept working, kept growing the business, added another truck, brought Jack on part-time. Word started getting around that Simmons Service and Repair was the most reliable small outfit in the area. Calls were coming in non-stop. Then, one random Tuesday in June, I got an email. Subject line, "Hope you're doing okay," from my mom. I didn't open it at first, figured it was more guilt. But Jack saw it and said, "Open it. It's been a year. Let's see how desperate they are." So I did. It was 4 paragraphs of nothing, started off with "We miss you." Then rolled into "Nick's been trying his best, but times are hard." Said my dad's health was shaky and they didn't want to ask for anything. But they were hoping for some support during this difficult season. Ended it with, "Maybe we can meet and talk like a real family again." Same tone they always used, like they didn't burn every bridge with a flamethrower and a can of gasoline. I left it on read. That same week, Jack told me Nick had been couch surfing again. His girlfriend dumped him after he borrowed her credit card without asking. Spent $300 on gaming stuff and refused to pay it back. She posted about it on Facebook and tagged his full name. Then I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was a lawyer. Said he was representing my parents in a small claims action. They wanted compensation for emotional distress and financial contributions they claimed they were owed from the land I now legally owned. He said, "We're willing to settle outside of court." I said, "Don't ever call me again," and hung up. Next day, Jack sends me screenshots. Nick's on Instagram again, same victim routine. Some people change for the worse. Even your own brother can forget where he came from. There's a blurry photo of our lot with my sign in the background. Caption says, "Built on stolen loyalty." That's when I knew they were running out of money and options. The next week, I'm in the middle of a job rewiring a customer's AC unit when a car pulls up at the gate. It's my mom. I stop what I'm doing, grab a rag, wipe my hands, and walk over. She doesn't get out of the car, just rolls down the window and says, "I just want to talk." I said, "Say it from there." She said, "We're struggling. Nick has nothing. Your father's blood pressure is out of control, and we're behind on rent." I said, "Sell the Suzuki Alto." She said, "That's gone. Repossessed." I said, "Not my problem." She stared at me like she didn't understand the language I was speaking. Then she said it, the sentence that made me walk away without saying another word. "We did everything for you growing up. You owe us." I turned my back and walked straight back into the workspace. Closed the gate behind me. Didn't look back. That night I got another email, this one worse. My dad wrote it. He said, "Your mother is sick over this. You're killing her. You're not the man I raised." He attached a scanned copy of an old utility bill from 2011, the one I paid when I was 20. He said, "We covered you back then when you were struggling. Don't forget that." First off, I paid that back within 2 weeks. I even paid extra because I felt guilty for being late. Second, who keeps utility bills from 14 years ago? The desperation was real. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent my own letter, certified, through my lawyer. It was a cease and desist order. No more contact, no showing up, no emails, no mail, no fake claims. Next one gets escalated. 2 days later, I got a text from Jack. "They're calling everyone saying you've gone cold. That success changed you." I told him they changed the second I stopped giving. Jack agreed. Said they called him too, offered him a cut of the property if he convinced me to come back. He told them to shove it. A week later, I got a call from my lawyer again. He says their case was thrown out before it even got started. Not enough evidence, not even a valid argument. Said it looked like a personal grudge turned lawsuit. That was the end of it. I posted something on my business page that day, just a photo of the workshop, tools lined up, sunlight hitting the sidewall. Caption said, built by hand, protected by peace. It got more likes than anything I'd ever posted. Even had a few new customers message me after, said they respected the work ethic. I didn't name names, didn't post receipts. But people in this town know word gets around, and my parents haven't heard from them since the legal notice. Nick's still floating, still posting recycled quotes about grind set and real ones. But he's quiet now. Quieter than he's ever been, because for the first time there's nothing left for them to take. 2 weeks after the cease and desist letter went out, everything went quiet. No more emails, no surprise visits, no calls from blocked numbers. Jack said they'd gone full radio silence, not even posting online anymore. I wasn't surprised. They'd played every card they had. Emotional guilt, legal threats, fake illness stories, the works. Nothing stuck. They weren't out of energy, they were out of leverage. I didn't waste time. I filed to officially register Simmons Service and Repair as a full LLC, registered the land as the company's headquarters, set it up clean, tied it to my personal trust so no one could ever claim a cent of it. The name, the logo, the land, the shed, the new truck, it was all locked in, legal, owned, untouchable. Next, I went to the bank and refinanced my business account under the LLC. Got a business credit line, opened a small website, nothing flashy, just a solid online presence. The phone started ringing more. Clients referred clients. Commercial HVAC jobs started landing, bigger contracts. I hired Jack full-time, paid him proper, gave him keys, login access, full trust. He earned it. We expanded the shop space. I installed new shelving, ran cable, upgraded the electrical grid. Then I put in a camera system, 6 units, cloud synced, 30-day retention. Nobody gets near that property without getting caught in 4K. That summer, I signed a contract with a local school district to service all their cooling systems. 5 buildings, long-term work, easy money, reliable. The kind of thing most guys dream about. During the install at the main high school, one of the administrators said, "You related to Richard Simmons?" I said, "Used to be." She laughed and said, "Makes sense." Didn't ask what she meant, didn't need to. That fall, a real estate agent approached me about the backlot behind my shop. Said someone was interested in buying. I looked it up. Turns out it was Nick using some fake LLC registered under a buddy's name. I declined. Then I bought the lot myself. Closed the deal the next week in full cash. Fenced it in, installed a second access gate, and turned it into a secure storage yard for old units and materials. The same week the sale went through, I had the new deed posted publicly in the county's record office. That was the final piece. I now owned every square foot of land my grandfather used to work on. From the front driveway to the back fence, from the old tree line to the rusted drain ditch. What they tried to steal, I made permanent. Jack brought an old photo of the property from 1996. It showed Grandpa working on a lawnmower next to the shed. We printed it and mounted it above the workshop door. Not to be sentimental, just to mark what it used to be and what it became. 1 month later, I got a letter, this time not from my parents, from the county's community board. They were inviting me to speak at a local trades event. Wanted me to talk about building a business from the ground up. Said Simmons Service and Repair had become one of the fastest growing private HVAC companies in the area. I didn't respond, but I showed up to the event. Not to speak, just to walk the floor, hand out business cards, make connections. A reporter stopped me near the parking lot, said she was doing a local business spotlight series, asked if she could interview me. I said, I don't talk much. She asked what made my business stand out. I said, nobody builds like the ones who got left out. She wrote that down, used it as the headline. 2 weeks later, Jack called me over, said, "You need to see this." He showed me a printout of a community newsletter. It had the article, a full column about my company, photo of me standing in front of the truck, business, booming, local respect, my name clean. Below it, a short notice in the same paper, notice of eviction. Richard and Janet Simmons removed from residential lease due to non-payment and violation of rental agreement. No address listed, just a legal notice. They were out. Jack said, "You think they'll come back?" I said, "They can't. There's nothing left to take." And for the first time in my life, I meant it.